I just wanted to have a chance to publicly say thank you, because I think Hillary will go down as one of the finest Secretary of States we've had.
President Obama asked me to be Secretary of State, and I said yes. And why did he ask me, and why did I say yes? Because we both love our country.
President Obama and Hillary Clinton in an unusual joint interview as she ends 4 years as Secretary of State. And we're back now with the panel. So apparently, folks, the president calls 60 Minutes, and he says to them, I would like to do an interview with Hillary Clinton. Now, what makes this so unusual is that in his 4 years as president, the only time he sat down with another person for an interview, Mr. Obama, was with Mrs. Obama, not with the vice president, not with any secretary, not with anybody else, but with Mrs. Obama. So, Jeff, one, what do you make of it? Will the chattering class here in Washington think this is a kind of mini endorsement of Hillary for 2016? And how unhappy do you think Joe Biden's going to be at 7 o'clock tonight when 60 Minutes goes on the air?
Well, he's definitely going to be following this, and he was probably in the wings on Friday when this interview was being done, sort of listening in. But look, I'm not sure it's any more than just I think this is good for the president. Her approval rating is very high among women, among others, so why not sort of sit down in that forum? You know, the 60 Minutes forum has been pretty friendly to him in the first term, so I think it's not an endorsement per se, but it certainly sort of looks like that. We don't know if she's going to run for president in 2016. She's leaving her options open, obviously. I think one thing we saw this week on the Hill was that if she does decide to run for president, her approval rating is going to go back to how it was before. I mean, she's going to sort of come down to earth here on things. But if she runs for president, I think Vice President Biden will obviously not. There's a lot of chattering about him. Is he sort of keeping his options open? He had Iowans and New Hampshire, Democrats over to his house over the weekend. I think that he is not going to challenge her. If she runs, he will not. Who knows? Both of them may not run, but it's just a bit of intrigue.
Kim, why do you think the president, and it was his decision, why do you think he wanted to get engaged in this kind of an event?
Well, I mean, part of this might have also been to build on Hillary Clinton's progress this week on the Hill and Benghazi, sort of try to put this behind us. She was actually fairly remarkable there in that she went in, the Republicans were fairly unprepared to move her off of her talking points. They had built this up for months. They were finally going to get the answers in Benghazi. Nothing really came out of that. They also didn't manage to put Benghazi into this broader context of the president's meek foreign policy, which I think is going to be important to them when they deal, for instance, with the Hagel nomination. So it was score one for Hillary, and I think this was an attempt to kind of build on that, move beyond it, talk about Hillary Clinton's legacy as a whole rather than that event.
Yeah, I want to pick up on that, Britt, because during the hearing, what struck me was the Republicans were tough on Hillary on Benghazi, the Democrats weren't, but both sides kept on saying what a great Secretary of State she had been and to praise her service. And here are some of the points that have been brought up, some of her accomplishments. She helped assemble the bombing campaign in Libya to topple Muammar Gaddafi. She helped assemble the coalition that imposed the toughest sanctions ever on Iran. And she established diplomatic ties with Burma. Question, Britt, how do you rate Hillary Clinton's performance record as our top diplomat?
I think those examples you cited would add up to a case for her competence. They do not add up to a case for greatness. After all, the groundwork on Burma had been done by the previous administration, and the administration properly followed through on it. You look across the world now at the major issues. Are Arabs and Israelis closer to peace? How about Iran and North Korea and their nuclear programs? Have they been halted or seriously set back? Has the reset with Russia, which she so famously introduced with the photo up in Moscow with the reset button, has that led to a new and more cooperative relationship? Is there a Clinton doctrine that we can identify that she has articulated and formed as Secretary of State? Are there major treaties that she has undertaken and negotiated through to a successful conclusion? I think the answer to all those questions is that she has not. And those are the kinds of things that might mark her as a great Secretary of State. She has certainly been industrious. She's visited 112 countries. Her conduct as Secretary of State has been highly dignified. She does her homework. There have been no gaffes or blunders. So I think she's been a capable and hardworking Secretary of State. But I think the case for her being a great Secretary of State is exceedingly weak.
One, was Hillary Clinton a successful Secretary of State? And how much does Benghazi, and writ large, how much does that tarnish her record?
I think she's been a very successful Secretary of State. I think that the industry that Brit touched on at the end has been impressive to people far and wide, that she has traveled, she's made the effort big time. I would say, contrary to what Brit said, that when you look back at this era in American history, you would have to say that our efforts started by the Bush administration to promote the democracy agenda, the freedom agenda in the Middle East, has been carried through. So Arab Spring took place under Hillary Clinton's watch. And you can say plus or negative in terms of the impact democracy has had. This weekend we've seen some of the flare-up in Egypt. But you have to say that in terms of promoting American ideals of democracy, she has been effective. When you talk about China and the reset button with Russia, I think she's managed those relationships. She's certainly managed, as Chris Wallace pointed out, what happened in Libya. She certainly managed to build the alliances that President Obama wanted. She has not undermined this president. She has been an effective tool for this White House. He put together a team of rivals, and to pick up on Jeff's point, it has played to the Democratic base in terms of women and in terms of Bill Clinton, who became Mr. Obama's chief surrogate during the last campaign.
I would simply say that those are examples of competent conduct in office, but you look at those other, I mean, you mentioned Libya. How's that working out for us? How about all those weapons that came from Libya that are now in Mali? How's that working out for us?
Where's Gaddafi?
Excuse me, and what about Syria? How's our policy there succeeded in furthering the cause?
Well, we've ended 2 wars under her watch, Brit, Iraq and Afghanistan, and she has been critical in managing both of those situations to, I think, a successful end.
Think about it. Look at the relationship that was required in Afghanistan with Hamid Karzai. Who was the key figure, if there was one, in managing that relationship? John Kerry.
I think that you're underestimating Hillary Clinton and President Obama. Karzai was here just recently.
I get that.
Okay.
You know,
okay.